How's it going, everyone? Welcome to the Raiders Daily Podcast, the number one podcast in the world for your Las Vegas Raiders. They are a dumpster fire right now. As you know, they get beaten by the Colts. That is the most embarrassing loss. I think I said this twice this season. I've been covering this team for 9 years, and I thought the Saints loss may have been the most embarrassing that I have seen in 9 years. But losing to the Colts, to a guy, first of all, in Jeff Saturday, who's has any NFL head coaching experience. He was a high school coach for one game, and by the way, he was 0-1. And their signal caller was the assistant quarterback coach, who's never called plays in his life, beat Patrick Graham, who, by the way, I don't know how he still has a job, but I'm going to get into that, why these guys still have a job in a second. So he beats Patrick Graham. He out-schemes him. Josh McDaniels continues to suck. I mean, I don't know. The guy's not going to get fired, apparently. We still got a long way to go. Mark Davis says he's not going to fire him, and I'll tell you why. This is what I was alluding to earlier. The reason why is money. Mark Davis does not have the money to fire him. Because, remember, he had to pay Jack Del Rio's contract. He had to do the settlement with John Gruden. Now he's paying Josh McDaniels a lot of money from what I understand. No one knows the exact figure. But I do know with Dave Ziegler and all the new regime, it's well over $100 million that Mark Davis is paying. So he can't afford to fire McDaniels and then pay another head coach. He just can't afford it. So it's like we got to ride with Josh McDaniels, basically. As you know, after the game, the most embarrassing game in the world, where Matt Ryan ran for 40 yards. Matt Ryan, not Patrick Mahomes, not Josh Allen, not, I don't know, anyone that has any kind of athletic bone in their body. Matt Ryan ran a 40-yard run against the Raiders defense. Not a single safety or defensive back could stop Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan was slicing and dicing the Raiders defense. It was pathetic. No quarterback pressure, nothing. That defensive line is the most pathetic defensive line in the National Football League. The only one that's good on that D-line is Max Crosby, and all you really have to do is triple team him. Because the other guys, it doesn't even matter if they're covered, it seems like. It seems like they can't get after a quarterback if they wanted to. Do they even want to? That's what I want to know. Do those players in that locker room even care? Do they care? Because what I seen on Sunday against the Colts, it looked like a team that simply does not care if they win or lose. They look like complete losers. And I am telling you guys, as the voice of the voiceless for Raider Nation, stop supporting this team. Don't buy their merchandise. Do not buy their high-price tickets to their little stadium, their big stadium, shiny light stadium they got. What is the point? To go there and see an embarrassing product on the field? You spend your hard-earned money to go watch that, and then you have your quarterback after the game crying. Listen, dude, you're crying, but you had the ball in your hands at the end of the game. What are you crying for? Yeah, your team sucks. But as a quarterback, that's what you want. That's what you dream of. Having the ball in your hands at the end of the football game with a chance to win it, and you blew it. You blew it. You threw a bad pass to Devontae Adams. There was other guys. By the way, he could have threw it to Foster Moreau, who was open, by the way. Could have thrown it there, but all season long, Derek Carr has been a problem. This guy has regressed. Yes, Josh McDaniels is a problem. Yes, that defense is the worst defense the Raiders probably ever had. I mean, seriously, they suck balls. But Derek Carr, I mean, I don't think he's going to be the quarterback next season. I don't see it happening. I really don't see it happening. I think Josh McDaniels has a vision, and that does not involve Derek Carr. I don't see them. I mean, remember, they can cut him right after a season and not have to pay him. And I think that's what they're going to do. Now, the only thing that I don't know is Josh McDaniels only has a 4-year deal. Is he going to draft a rookie quarterback and then start a rookie quarterback? Kind of dangerous, right? If you're Josh McDaniels, that's a dangerous thing to do. Because then if you get a rookie quarterback, you know how that goes. Sometimes those guys are terrible. And what are you going to do? Win 2 games again? I don't think Mark Davis then is going to have the patience. You're on a 4-year deal. Maybe then he would get fired because then it's only a 2-year buyout. Right now, it's just, I mean, he hasn't even finished the full season. It would be too much of a buyout. But that is the reason why he has not been fired. That is the only reason why he has not been fired. The players, and I know this, by the way, I'm not guessing about this, I'm not speculating. The players in that locker room, a lot of them don't respect Josh McDaniels. They don't. They don't like his play calling. Devontae Adams was, pretty much said it to the media, to the world. He doesn't like the play calling. Darren Waller, got called out by Derek Carr. Derek Carr, of course, isn't going to, say it's Darren Waller, but it's Darren Waller that he was alluding to about guys being injured and not playing. Even Vinny Bonsignore, who works for the Las Vegas Raiders, works for the Raiders, even reported it. So I'm not the only one, who's saying this. I said it way before him, by the way. I beat them on everything, but still, that's who he was talking about. Darren Waller has no problem, making his shitty rap videos and whatever the hell else he's doing pre-game during the Saints game. That guy was running completely fine. During practices, by the way, the Raiders trainers, they cleared him. He took himself out. Why did the Raiders pay a 30-year-old Darren Waller who missed 5 games last season? Now he's going to reach that this year, obviously. This guy, what was the point of paying him? What was the point of paying him? And right there, I agree with Derek Carr. Darren Waller was a waste. They could have used that money and got someone on defense. But let me tell you something. This whole regime, they are so dysfunctional. They neglected the defensive tackle position, and it shows, obviously. There's no pressure whatsoever. They gave Chandler Jones all this money. This guy, the Raiders are just praying retires after this season so they don't have to pay him. Because otherwise they're stuck with a guy who's broken down and washed up. Now, no one would have knew. Kind of hard to predict that, I thought he was going to be good. So I can't really say, well, I knew he was going to turn out like this. I thought he was still, had some gas in the tank. But he does not. He is shot. He is done. So the Raiders went out and they claimed Tillery, who's a former first-round pick. The Raiders got to claim him off waivers because the Raiders are the worst team. So let's see what he's got. The Raiders are done with Clinton Farrell. They're completely done with him. I don't know if they're going to activate him at all the rest of the season. They try to put Bowers in there, see what he has. Deshaun Bowers, he has nothing. He sucks. Like I said, Chandler Jones is just a waste of a space right there. Their defensive tackles do absolutely nothing. Their linebackers are just atrocious. Denzel Perryman's pretty good. He's a good linebacker, but not in coverage. And then when you take him out and you don't have Diablo, who's not that great either, and you're down to Curtis Bolton and Luke Masterson, those guys, they're not, they're practice squad players. They're not players that should be out there on Sunday. That's just the reality of it. And you've seen that against the Colts, who are the worst team in the world. They can't protect Matt Ryan at all. Matt Ryan, this guy could not connect a 6-yard pass the whole season. He got benched. He comes in and he looks like, Matt Ryan, second year in the league. Just demolishing the Raiders. And like I said, their scheme on defense, it's so easy to do so. The cornerbacks are 7 yards off the line. Everything's open in the middle of the field. It's so easy. It's so easy for opposing teams to score off the Raiders. It doesn't matter if there's 50 seconds on the clock or a full quarter. Any team can go down the field on that defense and score because there's no threat of being sacked. There's no threat of quarterback pressure. There is nothing. They can't even stop the run. Jonathan Taylor ran for what? What was that, a 60, 70-yard run? I mean, just went, boom, right up the middle. And by the way, I think we should say it, Trayvon Moehrig, he sucks. He's terrible. The Raiders got to get a new safety. Pretty much all the guys they drafted suck, right? I mean, Hunter Renfrow, that guy used to be awesome. I don't know what happened to him. I really don't. I know he's on IR right now, but this whole season before that, he doesn't look like Hunter Renfrow. He does not look like Hunter Renfrow. Derek Carr has regressed a lot. That Devontae Adams is still awesome when you get the ball in his hands, but that's all you really got. Then you got Mac Hollins. Mac Hollins, let's be honest, is not a second wide receiver, not even a third. He probably should be a fourth wide receiver. That's what he's been his whole career. That's where he deserves to be. This guy is not very good. He dropped some stupid passes against the Colts. He's not really good. The only good player on that offense, two good players, Devontae Adams and Josh Jacobs, and Josh Jacobs is more than likely leaving after the season. Zamir White, every time they put him in, he has no vision at all. So I hope that's not their solution to Josh Jacobs, or we're really in trouble next season. I mean, it's going to be a fun off season. The Raiders are going to have to spend money on players. They have to. They can't just Now, of course, they're pretending that they're rebuilding. That's what they're pretending. Meanwhile, you don't sign Chandler Jones. You don't give all these guys 2-year contracts, 2-year extensions if you're rebuilding. They're just saying that because they failed so much, and Josh McDaniels now knows that Mark Davis can't fire him right now. So, I mean, he's happy about it. Basically, he's getting rewarded for sucking. He's the only coach I know in the National Football League where the owner says, I think he's doing a great job, when he's won 2 games this season, and those 2 wins came off the Houston Texans and the Denver Broncos, right? And I would say those 2 teams right now are better than the Raiders. David Mills from the Texans even beat up the Raiders defense. This Raiders team is embarrassing to watch. They really are. And I'm just telling you how it is, guys. And I know you guys all think that. I know people are going to get mad that I'm saying it. But I'm telling you the truth. They are embarrassing. And I want them to get better, but the playoff hopes are over, obviously. I mean, let's not be the delusional fan where you say, well, if they run the table and they lost 8 games, maybe they can get in. Come on. They can't beat the Colts. They can't beat the Jaguars. This is a team that can't beat anyone. I mean, they're probably going to lose against Denver this week. If we're being really honest. They're probably going to lose. They shouldn't lose. All they have to do is run Josh Jacobs like they did last time and they can win. But we know this team they're just out of sync. Listen, I think the players checked out. I think Josh McDaniels is over his head as a head coach, just like he was in Denver. This guy is he's not a head coach. So the only hope I can give Raider Nation is this. Next year, maybe, late in the season, the Raiders, by the way, will pull off some spoilers. Maybe they'll get a couple victories and spoil another team's season. But, we've been here for, like I said, I've been covering this team for 9 years. It's not like we're not used to this. This team was 0-10 at one point, at 1 year. So, I mean, they've been awful for 9 years. Last season, yeah, they made the playoffs, but remember, they still lost 7 games last season. It's just they had such high expectations this year with all the talent they had. But I guess it doesn't matter when your quarterback has regressed and when you have Josh McDaniels. So, I mean, the only thing we can hope for, since the Raiders are keeping Josh McDaniels, unless Mark Davis does change his mind. If this team, let's say they only win two games. They don't win another game this season. Maybe Mark Davis, because we've seen him make, decisions really fast. maybe he just says, screw it, can't take it anymore, and fires them. And just goes and gets someone really cheap to be the head coach and just pays off the contract. But from what I understand, he simply just does not have the money to do it. But, you never, with NFL, with the TV money, maybe something can happen like that. Or they draft a quarterback, someone who can improvise a lot, and it doesn't really matter about the play calling. Kind of like what Patrick Mahomes does in Kansas City. There's a reason why their offensive coordinator doesn't get head coaching jobs. Because, every play's an improvised play. Patrick Mahomes is pretty much the offensive coordinator. Doesn't matter what play call you do. As you can see, he just runs around and makes a play out of it. So, it's not really the play calling. It's Patrick Mahomes. That's the kind of quarterback the Raiders are going to need. I really like Hendon Hooker from Tennessee. But, I'm a Vols fan, so I'm biased. But he also has accuracy issues sometimes. So that might come into play there. But someone who can run with the football, make throws on the run. By the way, if you notice the Raiders with Derek Carr is so much better when he's actually using his feet and throwing on the run. When he's a statue in that pocket and it collapses and he doesn't move, he's terrible. Overthrows, underthrows. But when he's moving and throwing the ball, usually it ends up being a good play. But he does not use his legs, even though he's athletic enough. And listen, it's been, 9 years? So, eventually at some point, I don't care if you're the biggest Derek Carr fan in the world, aren't you sick of losing? Don't you want a quarterback who will win at all costs? And that's what Patrick Mahomes is. Andy Reid sucks. That's the reality. They only got good when Patrick Mahomes came in. That's when they started winning Super Bowls. That's why they're so good right now, is because of Patrick Mahomes. If they had any other quarterback, Andy Reid probably wouldn't even have a job by now. That is the truth. That guy has always been overrated. Always. And my whole family are Eagles fans. We watch that guy in Philly. That dude is overrated. He does not know how to call a game. He doesn't have to do anything. You have a guy who pretty much runs the entire offense, and Patrick Mahomes improvises every single play. That's how they win. It really is. That's why it's so hard to really game plan against the Chiefs, because it's not like they're calling plays, but it's not going to be their play that's called, because Patrick Mahomes is going to be running around, and his, to their credit, his receivers also are constantly running, constantly never giving up on their routes, constantly looking back for the football. Juju Smith's Juju there, he's doing even a good job at doing it. You know what I mean? Like, just keeping that play alive. And the Raiders wide receivers, by the way, don't really do that for Derek Carr. They don't. Mostly because you don't know if Derek Carr is going to do that. Now, if Derek Carr was doing that all the time, then maybe they would. But right now they have no weapons. Like I said, they have Josh Jacobs. That's it. Zamir White looks like he sucks. Devontae Adams is really good. But, it's kind of hard to throw to him every single down. Foster Moreau sucks at running routes. Terrible route runner. There's no Darren Waller, no Hunter Renfrow. And Keelan Cole, he doesn't get the ball enough, so we don't really know. But he dropped a few. But he's never active. Like, he doesn't get the ball, so we don't know. We really don't know about the guy. Maybe if they started throwing him the football more, maybe we would know if he sucks or if he's good. But right now, it's just Derek Carr, Devontae Adams, and Foster. And then running the ball with Josh Jacobs. That's the offense. Pretty simple. That's why every defense can stop it. And the Raiders' offensive line, they can't really hold up that long. They can't. Especially when they're going up against a good defense. They're pretty much screwed, right? But Derek Carr still has time to make decisions. He just takes way too long. Way too long. The Chiefs don't have a great offensive line. But look what they're able to do. So, The offensive line, yes, not very good. But they're good enough, in my opinion. It's not an excuse for Derek Carr. That defense, though, that defense for the Raiders, they are, I mean, that's a clown show over there. To have Matt Ryan just beat you up like that is more than embarrassing. That is just, that's unacceptable. Like I said, there's no way they can go into next year with Patrick Graham as defensive coordinator. They have to change that up because that guy sucks. He does. And every time they show his face on TV, something bad happens. And I'm sick of looking at his face, like I say every week. He looks like his dog died. He just stopped showing on TV. And by the way, every time Trent Green and Kevin Harlan are calling the games, the Raiders are winless. Those guys are like jinx to the Raiders. Every time they call a Raiders game, they called a lot of them too, the Raiders lose. This team is just in the dumpster right now. And hopefully this offseason, they finally make that bold move where they go get another quarterback. They fix this team. They got a lot of work to do, guys. A lot of work. And even if you keep Derek Carr for a year, draft a rookie quarterback, get him ready, and if Derek Carr is still regressing this bad, by week 3, you throw in a rookie. That's what I would do if I was Josh McDaniels. But I'm not Josh McDaniels because I'm better than Josh McDaniels, to be honest with you. He got out-coached by a guy who's never called plays before at any level. I call plays in high school. I'm 9-2. I could probably beat Josh McDaniels. You could. Right now. You listening right now. You're a better coach than Josh McDaniels. That's the way it's looking right now. This guy has been absolutely awful. And Mark Davis, like I said, he would have fired a guy. Instead, he's going to come out and give, I think first of all, that's a really bad quote to say. I think he's doing a fantastic job. After that embarrassing performance in Las Vegas against the Colts, that's disrespectful for everyone who bought a ticket to that game to say that he's doing a fantastic job. That's why I encourage you, Raider Nation, to boycott these games. And who cares anyways? It's mostly the opposing fans. Last time I played Denver, it was a sea of orange. Las Vegas was a terrible idea for the Raiders. And I knew that from the start. I just knew the Raiders needed a home because Oakland didn't want them. But obviously, the ideal place for the Raiders would have been L.A. That's where they belong. That's where they won Super Bowls. That's where they should have went. Las Vegas has been nothing but a train wreck so far. First of all, it's impossible to get to that stadium. It's not like they have a train that brings you there. It's so hot there. It sucks in Las Vegas. It's so overrated. I've been there. It's terrible. It's not fun. The Raiders have the highest ticket prices in the NFL, and they have the worst team in the NFL. How does that make any sense? Now it's just a neutral place for opposing fans to take a weekend trip to go see their favorite team beat up on the Raiders. That's where we're at right now. Thank you, Josh McDaniels. Thank you, Derek Carr. Thank you, Mark Davis. This guy's got to sell the team or do something because this team is never going to get better under this leadership. And it starts with the top and it ends with the players. And those players do not look like they're motivated to win. They don't look like they have their hearts in the game. Derek Carr does. He definitely does. He wouldn't be out there crying, which is a little bit embarrassing. He wouldn't be out there crying if he didn't have his heart in the game. He does. And I give him all the credit in the world for it. He's trying his best. He's just not good enough. That's the facts. And the defense, they don't help him out at all. They're not helping out at all. And the offensive line are not helping out at all. Especially when it's 2nd and 34. Because your center and your left tackle can't stop holding or being a legal man downfield. You name it. 2nd and 34. It's constantly 1st and 20. This is just bad football. Bad football. Bad coaching. Bad leadership. Something has got to change. This week, they're playing the Broncos. Let's see what happens. I mean, I'm not picking the Raiders to win. I won't pick them again ever this season to win a game. But let's see what happens. Maybe Josh McDaniels, I think he's given up a little bit, trying to play scheme in. Maybe the players will be more free and they'll probably do better like that. But, I mean, the Broncos can't score off anyone. They'll probably put up 21, 24, 28, maybe 30 off the Raiders' defense. Because Russell Wilson, if he wants to, I mean, that egomaniac who also sucks, he could just run the football over and over again and pick up 50 yards. Matt Ryan picked up I am faster than Matt Ryan. My 10-year-old son is faster than Matt Ryan, and he ran 40 yards off the Raiders. So imagine what Russell Wilson could do. He could run for 700 yards in one game off of that team. That defense is the worst defense in football. They really are. They are awful. Now, luckily that they got the Broncos coming in. Let's see if they can win. Now, I don't like the whole, let's tank. Let's lose every game to get a good draft pick. Because that's boring to me, because then it makes football Sundays boring. I want the Raiders to win. You know what I mean? Like, it's fun to see the team that you cover win the football game. So, I can't, what's the point of even watching if you want them to lose? You know what I mean? Like, don't watch the game. I mean, I guess if you want them to lose, don't even watch the Raiders game. Watch a different football game. But it's still depressing seeing the score on the bottom of the screen. You know what I mean? So, either way, you're in a tough spot if you're a Raiders fan. Because obviously it benefits you if the Raiders lose, but at the same time, you never want to see your favorite team lose. Especially like they did last week. So, I mean, I guess we'll have to wait and see how they play against Denver. Like I said, I would not be shocked if they get blown out. I would not be shocked if they lose at all. I wouldn't be shocked if they won either, though. Because it is against Denver, and that's where they got their win last time. This might be their only win of the season, the rest of the way. And like I said, I guess the thing you can root for is maybe the next time they play Kansas City, they pull off a big upset. That's as a Raiders fan, that's what I would suggest for you guys to do. Is just root for them to beat these teams that are going to be playoff teams and, mess up their whole playoff scenarios. And that's really the only... I mean, come on. It's not like you guys aren't used to this. It's been going on, at least since I've been covering the team, and that's 9 years ago. And I'm sick and tired of it. I am sick and tired of it year after year after year of a losing team. I mean, come on. Something's got to give. So we will see Sunday. If they lose, it might be a good thing if they lose, because I don't really believe Mark Davis. I think it's just, like I said, very disrespectful for what he said. But I also don't believe him when he says, he's not going to fire Josh McDaniels. If this team loses every single game this season, I have a hard time believing it. Like I said, the NFL, all these teams are going to get TV money and stuff like that. He's making a lot of money in Vegas. He might be able to afford to fire him and pay out his contract. But again, like I said, he had to pay off Jack Del Rio, John Gruden. Now he would have to pay off McDaniels with 3 more years to go and then pay another head coach. That is never ideal. But Mark Davis got himself into this mess. They should have pulled the plug, in my opinion, on Derek Carr a long time ago. That's just my opinion. All right, guys, thank you for listening. I'll talk to you guys next week. We'll talk about what happened. Hopefully the Raiders win. Let's hope. All right, my name is Stephen Michaels. This is the Raiders Daily Podcast.